So we're here today with Miney, who's going to share a little bit about her journey and story moving from app development into remote sales. So Miney recently graduated the Women's Sales Institute program and she's crushing it in her new role. I guess I'll leave that with her to share a little bit about her story. But I guess to begin with, Miney, please tell us a little bit about kind of how you started in development.
Sure. So I became an app developer around 3.5 years ago, and absolutely loved it. Really did enjoy it. I still enjoy coding today. And yeah, I got on, it was pretty much just 9 to 5. It was a graduate job that I luckily secured and kind of continued with from there. And yeah, it was a really stable job and quite typical of most jobs, I guess, that you would land outside of university. Day to day kind of looked like coding, solving complex problems, that sort of thing, which I really, really enjoyed because, I really like problem solving, which is why I chose the development route. However, I think it kind of got to a stage where restrictions were becoming more and more. So what I mean by that was after COVID, when COVID kind of calmed down and people were going back into the office, there was kind of an expectation to go into the office more. And, for me, living further away from the office, that meant additional time. And of course, that additional time didn't come with the additional, benefits like the salary or things like that. And so I find putting more time towards the job than I had, initially anticipated, and I didn't feel as though it was actually rewarded. And so that kind of led me to a point where I sat back and I thought about all the things that I would be able to do. Um, and yeah, I just kind of wanted a change. I wanted to have that remote freedom, so not being stuck in the office. And I wanted to be able to increase my earning potential, essentially.
Yeah, and that's, super interesting. And I think a lot of women, particularly in a similar career, can relate because development is considered quite prestigious, right? It's considered a good career, a stable career, it pays well. And especially for your personality, if you like to problem solve, I understand why you'd want or be drawn to it. So I guess for you, Miney, how did it feel to like be in that role? And there was a huge part of it that you enjoyed, but then there were the financial and maybe time-based limits. Like how did that make you feel in the role? And I guess what sparked a change for you?
Yeah, definitely. And, I feel as though you kind of hit the nail on the head. It felt quite disappointing because, as you said, like, development and, finance and all of those industries are very prestigious. And sometimes you attach yourself to that achievement and what that feels like. And I think for myself, I was really, really happy about the fact that I broke into that role, especially being the first person in my family to, have a career that did, bring in a good salary and things like that. But I think the disappointment and also the desire to have something of my own outweighed that, and I knew that there was a different option, a different route that I needed to take, and so that's why I kind of went forth and chose that different route essentially.
Yeah, and if we think about when you were in the role, like the development role, were there anything or specific things that you were unable to do that you wished you could do?
Yes, for sure. So just choosing my own hours, like choosing when I worked, that was a big one for me. My first passion, life passion, is DJing. So um, so I wanted to make more time for that, and I wanted to have the opportunity to travel with my DJing as well, which was something that I couldn't do because I was limited and restricted to the UK. So even though the role was remote, was hybrid, had that aspect of remoteness to it, I still didn't feel completely free to go where I wanted to go or do what I wanted to do. And so that was what I would say I really kind of was missing in my role.
Yeah, and Miney, I know a lot of women can relate where, they're feeling this kind of incongruency with their role because maybe they do like it. And, even with me, I did like my role. So I guess for you, whilst feeling that, yet having this pull toward wanting the things that you do want, how do you kind of reach the space where you're like, right, I want to make a change and then actually actively looking for things that you could do? So what did that process look like for you? What thoughts were coming up that prompted that?
Yeah, great question. So I think at the end of the month, when you're looking at your salary and you're looking at your outgoings and you're thinking about the life you want to live, and it doesn't align with your current situation, I feel like for me, that was the point of which I said, it doesn't matter how much I enjoy what I'm doing. it's not bringing me closer to the life that I want for myself and the freedom that I want for myself. So for me, it was like looking at my salary in the beginning of January, and again, like it was good. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad salary. In fact, it was higher than industry standard, but I still felt as though I wanted to do my DJing. I wanted to, be able to have that remote freedom. And I realized that in my current role that I was in my previous role that I was in, that just wasn't going to happen. So that was really the breaking point for me.
Yeah, you wanted more, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? We all want that. So, for you specifically, when you say, the financial piece was definitely the driving force, like, do you feel like there was an element of you worked really hard to land your developer job and, it took years to get to a level where you felt confident in it, and then with all of that hard work, you feel like you're not getting compensated at the same level. So I guess for you, when you realized all of that, what then drew you to sales specifically as the thing or the vehicle that could help you make a change?
Yeah, great question as well, because actually I had no idea that sales would be the direction I would go towards, to be honest. I remember um after I'd made that decision in my mind that I was no longer wanting to stay in the development space, because it wouldn't give me the freedom that I'd wanted, I realized that I needed to look at other options. And so I kind of, probably it's the developer in me, but I turned to Google and I looked at roles that would allow that flexibility, and digging more, and also answering some kind of questionnaires about like my career preferences. It actually aligned pretty well with sales. And then I did more digging and I came across obviously yourself, Naya. And that was the day that changed it all for me. But I couldn't have seen it coming, honestly. I couldn't have seen sales coming.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. Like, I find your story so interesting because, as a collective, we assume that developers or people who are quite technical maybe aren't so good at sales, or maybe, they're not very social or not very people focused, and that's what draws them into careers like development. But that's so not true. And I want other women who are also maybe in tech roles or in technical roles to think, there are other options available for them. So what, I guess, would you say to someone like that? What thoughts did you have around that as well? Did you have any? And is there any advice you would give to maybe a woman that's in similar shoes to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was even something that I was faced with myself, before I came in sales, was, does this really align? Like, I am a developer, and I think I held myself to that label for a few weeks, before I actually committed to reaching out to you. I kind of thought, well, you know, I don't socialize every day. I'm coding 9 to 5 pretty much. But I think as well, like my passion in DJing and stuff, that is quite social. So I just reminded myself that actually everybody has the ability to be social and to be a great communicator. It just takes practice and it just takes exposure. And, if I could do it for DJing, then there wouldn't have been any reason why I couldn't have done it in a career, from a career perspective. So I think it was more understanding and adapting a mindset of growth, a growth mindset. So if anybody was out there wondering whether they could actually do a job like sales but comes from a technical background, I would say absolutely yes. You just have to have that growth mindset.
Yeah, and you're an amazing testament of that, Miney. And as well, right, you didn't let your identity become a frame, which I think is what can trap a lot of women. And, from the women I've spoken to, it is one of the things that holds them back. Like, they're the thing that is holding themselves back. So for you, like, when you did decide sales was the thing that you wanted to do, what was the thought process that allowed you to arrive at that decision? And then secondly, what was it for you that made you decide that you wanted to work with the Women's Sales Institute and also with me, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. So, firstly, arriving at the decision that I was going to move into sales, I'll be honest with you, it was quite terrifying. It was scary initially because, again, for the reasons that we discussed, I had that identity, but I was fighting with that side of me that knew that I could also do this, which was, again, being a DJ, already being involved, being social on that side of things. So it was like a little bit of a battle initially, I won't lie. But I think just seeing your success, seeing another woman as well that comes from a technical background. Okay, yeah, it's not coding, but it's still finance. It's still dealing with numbers. There's a lot behind it. So seeing you do that was really what encouraged me to see that it was also a possibility for me. And so I think the point of which where I had decided I was going to do it, I'd got back past that initial fear and I saw you and I was like, okay, she's the person I would really love to kind of take me through this journey. I just felt at ease, honestly. I think just going through kind of your social media and what I watched a lot of your content, I just really resonated as well with your values and your ambition. Because yes, I was a developer, but I think a lot of developers are ambitious, and I think that's a trait you should hold on to. But just if you want to go into a different direction, you just have to channel it there. And so I wanted somebody that would resonate on that ambitious side as well, and I definitely found that in you, which is why I chose to go with you.
It's beautiful. Thank you. And Miney, it's really interesting that you say that for you, it was because you saw someone who had a similar background to you. And, you can't be what you can't see. And I 100% agree. And I guess what we're hoping to do here is for you, coming from a tech background and coding specifically, there are probably women out there in the exact same shoes as you. And when they see you, probably feel inspired and, feel like they can do it too, because they absolutely can. I 100% agree with you there. I guess, did you have any doubts and fears around getting started with sales? And then what made you say yes and work through them?
Oh, absolutely. So many doubts, so many limiting beliefs, and I think it'd be a lie to say that anybody that joins doesn't have those. So I think if you're an individual that has those doubts and limiting beliefs, you should embrace them and understand that they're probably somewhere in there. There's an advantage. So, for example, one of my limiting beliefs was just my background, right? So I'm from a very mixed background, minority and things like that. And I had never seen somebody of a minority in sales. And so for myself, I remember thinking, oh, it's not really a space that I can tap into. I had kind of that limiting belief as well. And so I think, again, seeing you, and like you said, you don't know what you can be until you see it. I think I felt a sense of relief, but I also learned to trust that is what makes me unique, and that is beneficial in sales. Like, we aren't all the same, and I think there's different types of consumers out there, and they all need to speak to different types of people. So I think if you've got limiting beliefs and doubts, then you can usually flip them on their head and see that they'll actually be advantageous to you. And so that's the point of which I got to, which allowed me to work through those kind of limiting beliefs and self-doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, Miney. And I think this is a testament to your growth mindset, right? Because you worked through these yourself before you even came to our program. I remember you had worked through a lot of these and really challenged your identity and also yourself, which is a beautiful trait. I guess for you, tell us a little bit about, how you actually landed a job. What was the process like for you through the program? And tell us a little bit about, what challenges and maybe what things you experienced as you went through that journey.
Sure. So I was very ambitious. So I put a lot of time in. And again, like, that's another great benefit of coming from a technical role or somewhere where you are naturally quite ambitious, or at least trained to be. So I think I definitely, once I'd made the decision, I went all in with you, and we reaped some really great results because of it. So I think we landed my first job within 4 weeks. So very, very quickly of being in the program. And that's because I think we said, didn't we? We wanted to go as quickly as possible because I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go backwards, and default to my old role. I wanted to get things moving and just step into that industry. So we definitely went really quickly in terms of my program, but that was something that I wanted. And I was very like upfront about that with you in the beginning, and you adapted. So thank you. But yeah, we landed a job very, very quickly. And since then, like, it's just gone from success after success, to be honest with you. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. I think in my second week, I earned my whole month's salary. So it was a shock. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I was quite prepared for how quickly I could start earning. So yeah, that I got some really great results. And since then, yeah, I have made a lot financially, but also I've grown a lot in terms of my communication as well and things like that. So
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you because I'm really impressed with your results, and you did incredibly well to land a role so soon into the program. But that again is a testament of you and your growth mindset and how quickly you implemented the feedback. So, Miney, what do you feel like you're able to do now that maybe you couldn't when you were in your development role? Like, what do you feel like sales has given you?
oh gosh, it's given me heaps. And although the money is fantastic, like it's truly fantastic. Um, the skills that I've learned in terms of, communicating with different types of people, really just, I just feel so fulfilled. The types of conversations that I have with individuals, I feel like I'm genuinely helping them. You are very close contact with a person, in sales. So that was something I'd missed in my last role, and having that now, I just feel such a sense of fulfillment, and I know that I'm helping people as well. Um, and yeah, I get to see the results very closely. So I find that now I'm feeling a lot more satisfied in what I'm doing, but also financially, it's allowed me to change a lot in my life. So I no longer live at home. I'm now looking at getting my own apartment, and I've traveled, just in this last few months alone, I've traveled to two different countries. And I think that's something I never could have had, if I'd stayed in my previous role. So it's definitely changed my life for sure.
Yeah, and I guess for you, Miney, like, we all think and want to achieve goals like, 10, 20, 30K months. And oftentimes when we're on the outside, we don't think that's possible, but it has been possible for you. So I guess what were the misconceptions that maybe you had before getting into sales and that have completely changed, say now you're in sales specifically?
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is like a common UK thing, but I think we are raised to think that sales is bad. And that was definitely something that, I didn't completely have that belief system, but it was definitely a limiting belief somewhere in my mind, at the back of my mind. And actually, that has changed so much since I've been in sales, because I see now the people that I'm supporting and I'm helping, and I see that it's actually a beautiful thing. And without being able to sell, they would never receive, that product, that support that they've been looking for so long. So that's definitely something that has shifted since I got into sales. But yeah, I just feel like I've really just changed my mindset, and especially around money, especially around how much can be made. I was quite content with my old salary, but like if I can have 3 times that, why wouldn't I? And that's definitely what I've experienced now, and it feels great. It feels great, and it's uncapped a lot of my beliefs around business as well. So being able to run your own business because you're learning such a valuable skill, I have no doubt that when it comes to me doing that further down the line, later down the line, I'll be able to have the skill set to be able to. So yeah, I've learned like a tremendous amount, and I'm really glad that I did step in and take that change for myself.
Yeah, and I'm really, really proud of you, Miney, like I said before, and you've done so well. And I know your story will inspire so many other women who are in similar shoes to you. I guess one thing a lot of people wonder is great, they can get into sales, maybe they want to get into sales, but they always wonder what their next step might be. So I guess for you, Miney, what's next step for you? Like, what do you feel like sales gives you that could get you closer to your goal long term?
Absolutely. So my big vision is to I've always had the big vision of having a business of my own one day. I have the technical ability now. Like I've been a developer, I understand systems, and that's great. And now I'm learning, sales and communication skills. So I've just pretty much been skill stacking. But having the sales skill, one thing that came as a huge surprise to me actually was just how much I could see the actual operational side of a business. So seeing that now, I know for a fact is definitely going to help me build my own business. So, there's so many layers to sales. It's not just, closing the deal. There's so many, mechanisms, and actually being able to see that, as you said, I've now seen it. So now I can do that for myself. So when I do go to build my own business, I really do understand the inner workings. So yeah, so this is all just really being a launch pad for my own business that I'd like to build for myself.
Amazing. And I know you'll do such a great job doing that. I guess, Miney, as a final, wrapping up question, what would you tell someone that's maybe on the fence, maybe a little bit unsure, but is watching this right now about taking the next step?
Okay. I would say, you know, it's going to be different, but different doesn't mean bad. Sometimes different means good or better. And even if you are in a great situation now, I would just encourage you to look inside and be honest about what it is you are trying to achieve long term. Because just because something's good now, it doesn't mean that it's good long term. And I was definitely, I definitely fell victim to that mindset when I was in my old role. So I would just encourage you to look within and know that this is definitely an option for you. You do have to work hard. It's not going to be easy, but if you've already come from a background where you're used to working hard, you may as well work hard and let it make sense. Let it make sense for your future. So I would just encourage you to take that step and just bet on yourself and know that, if I can do it, there's no reason you can't do it. If Naya can do it, there's no reason you can't do it. So yeah, I would just say take that step and you definitely won't regret it.
I would 100% echo that. Thank you so much, Miney.
You're welcome. Lovely chatting.